Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. The engagement party at the Riverside Grand Ballroom was moving exactly how everyone expected, smooth, loud, and completely centered around my sister, Madison. 200 guests packed the room, champagne flowing like it was free water, crystal chandeliers glowing overhead. Madison had been flashing her engagement ring for over an hour straight, twisting her hand just enough so the light caught the diamond every single time she laughed. It was big, like obnoxiously big, a flawless rock set in platinum, the kind of ring people whisper about. And Madison loved that reaction. She'd already told the proposal story at least 15 times. How Ethan got down on one knee, how the violinists played their song, how she cried, but in a cute way. My parents ate it up like it was the first time they'd heard it, nodding proudly, asking about the jeweler, the clarity, the cut, acting like certified diamond experts. Me? I stood near the bar, sipping a Pinot Noir I didn't even like, smiling when necessary, invisible like usual. That had been my role for years. Let Madison shine. Let Madison talk. Let Madison be the headline. Then Uncle Robert walked in late, and everything went sideways. Robert wasn't just my dad's younger brother. He was a Silicon Valley investor, the kind of guy who wore simple clothes but could buy the building without blinking. He'd made serious money backing startups before anyone else believed in them. More importantly, he was the only family member who'd stayed in touch with me over the last 8 years. "Sorry I'm late, folks," Robert said, weaving through the crowd. "Flight delay. You know how it goes." He hugged Madison, congratulated Ethan, admired the ring for half a second, then turned to me and pulled me into a warm hug. "Lena, wow," he said, stepping back and smiling. "You look amazing. So, how's life in that house on Crestview Ridge? Still loving that view?" The room didn't just quiet. It straight up froze. Madison's hand stopped mid-gesture. My mom's champagne glass hovered inches from her lips. My dad's face drained like someone pulled the plug. "What house?" my father asked, his voice tight, confused. I took a slow sip of wine. 8 years. 8 long years of being overlooked, dismissed, treated like background noise while Madison's every milestone got a standing ovation. And now, finally, the truth had slipped out without me saying a word. "The craftsman on Crestview Ridge," Robert said casually, accepting a flute from a server. 5 bedrooms, insane mountain views. Lena bought it back in 2017. I stayed there last time I visited. Madison laughed, sharp and fake. "That's not funny. Lena rents near the university." "I used to," I said calmly, "for 2 years during my doctorate. Then I bought the house." Silence hit harder than a slap. "You're saying you own a house?" my mother whispered. "I bought it for $1.25 million. I replied evenly. "It's worth about $1.60 now." The numbers landed like a grenade. My dad looked like he might drop his drink. Madison's perfect smile cracked. "That's impossible," my mom said. "Where would you even get that kind of money?" "I put down 20% and paid the rest off early," I said. Robert nodded. "She crushed the mortgage fast. Used her signing bonus." "Signing bonus?" my dad repeated, stunned. "From Novagen Pharma," I explained. "They offered me $190,000 to leave my research fellowship. I put every dollar toward the principal." Madison's voice came out strained. "You got almost $200,000 just for signing?" "That's standard at my level," I said. "My total comp now is around $380,000 a year." Someone nearby dropped a champagne glass. It shattered across the marble floor, but no one even reacted. My parents stared at me like they were seeing a stranger. Madison's ring suddenly looked smaller. "And that," Robert added with a grin, "doesn't even include her patents or rental income." My mom blinked rapidly. "Patents?" 11, I said quietly. "Mostly oncology drug delivery systems. Licensing brings in about $95,000 a year." The air felt heavy, uncomfortable, electric. Madison finally snapped. "Why didn't you tell us any of this?" I met her eyes. "I did. You just didn't listen." And right then, standing in a ballroom meant to celebrate her, Everything that had been buried for 8 years started clawing its way to the surface. Just when my parents thought the shock was over, Uncle Robert casually asked one question that would completely destroy the version of me they believed in for years and turn the engagement party into something no one could walk away from. The moment the word patents landed in the air, I could feel the entire vibe of the room change. The music kept playing softly in the background. Glasses clinked. People laughed a few feet away. But inside our little family circle, it felt dead quiet, like time slowed down just to let the truth sink its teeth in. My mom was the first to speak, her voice shaky. "Lena, you're a pharmaceutical researcher. How does that turn into all this?" I didn't roll my eyes. I didn't sigh. I didn't raise my voice. I just corrected her, the same way I've been doing my whole life. "I'm not just a researcher," I said gently. "I'm the director of oncology development at Novagen. I manage 46 scientists. We're in late-stage trials for a pancreatic cancer treatment." Robert pulled out his phone, like this was no big deal. "Oh, yeah. Your work was featured in Medical Frontiers last month. They called it industry-altering." My dad swallowed hard. "Cancer treatment?" "Yes," I said. "The kind that could save thousands of lives if the final trials go right." The silence was thick enough to choke on. Madison finally found her voice, sharp and defensive. "So you're just rich and famous now?" "I'm not famous," I said. "I'm respected. Big difference." A woman stepped up beside Robert, Dr. Elaine Carter, one of his longtime colleagues. "Lena, congratulations on the FDA Fast Track designation. That's huge." My mother blinked. "FDA what?" "Our drug received breakthrough therapy status 3 weeks ago." I explained. "It speeds up approval. Instead of 4 years, we could be treating patients in under 2. Elaine smiled proudly. "Lena's research is going to change oncology. She's also the youngest keynote speaker invited to the Geneva Symposium next month." "Geneva?" my dad echoed. "Yes," I said. "I'm presenting the Phase 3 data." Madison's face tightened. "So while I was planning a wedding, you were flying around the world?" "I didn't announce it," I said calmly. "But I never hid it either." That's when Robert dropped the next bomb, like he was tossing pebbles into a lake, not detonating emotional landmines. "Hey, Lena," he said casually, "have you decided on the Lake Orion property yet?" My dad snapped his head toward him. "The what property?" "Oh," Robert said. 6-bedroom place on Lake Orion. Private dock. Lena's thinking of turning it into a vacation rental. My mom actually staggered. My dad reached out to steady her. "Why would she need a vacation rental?" Madison asked, her voice thin. "For diversification," Robert replied. "She already owns 4 rentals. This would be her 5th, plus her primary home." The shock hit them all at once. "4," my mom whispered. "Small single-family homes." I said, "Bought undervalued, renovated, rented out. They cash flow about $1,800 a month each." My dad's brain kicked into math mode automatically. "That's over $86,000 a year. Before appreciation," Robert added. "Her real estate equity alone is north of $2 million. Madison's engagement ring hand dropped to her side. "Forgotten. And that," Robert continued, "doesn't count retirement accounts, investments, unvested stock, or liquid assets." My mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered. She didn't even flinch. "So," Madison whispered, "you're a millionaire." "On paper," I said. "Most of it's invested." "Total net worth?" my dad asked, barely breathing. Robert smiled. "About $3.3 million. No one spoke. No one moved. The family that once treated me like an afterthought was now staring at me like I'd been swapped with someone else. Madison suddenly spun around. "I need air." She shoved through the crowd toward the balcony. Ethan hesitated, torn, then followed her. My mom took a step after them, but my dad stopped her. "No," he said quietly. "We need to talk to Lena." I crossed my arms. "About what?" "You didn't know I owned a house. Now you do." "That's not fair," my mom cried. "How did we miss all of this?" "Because you never asked," I said simply. Robert nodded. I've watched it for years. Every call, every holiday, everything was about Madison, her job, her dating life, her engagement. Lena could cure cancer, and you'd ask if Madison wanted dessert. That's not true, my dad protested weakly. Isn't it? Robert shot back. When was the last time you asked Lena about her work, her home, her life? Silence answered for them. I remember, I said quietly, 6 years ago, Thanksgiving. I tried to explain nanoparticle drug delivery. You interrupted me after 2 minutes to ask Madison about her new apartment. You never asked again. My mom broke down completely. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I didn't realize. You didn't want to realize, I said. You decided who I was years ago. My dad's voice cracked. What do you want from us? I thought about it and realized the truth hurt more than the anger. Nothing, I said. I stopped wanting your approval a long time ago. The words landed hard. Robert touched my shoulder gently. Lena! I should go, I said. This is Madison's night. I turned toward the exit, heels clicking against the marble floor. Behind me, my mom called my name, but I didn't turn around. What my parents didn't know was that the hardest truth hadn't been spoken yet, and the message waiting on my phone would prove that money wasn't the real reason they suddenly cared. The drive home felt longer than usual, not because of traffic, but because my head wouldn't shut up. Every streetlight I passed replayed the same looks on my parents' faces. Shock, confusion, regret, and underneath it all embarrassment, not because they'd hurt me, but because they'd been exposed. I pulled into my driveway on Crestview Ridge, the lights of the city glowing below like a quiet reminder of how far I'd come. 5 bedrooms, clean lines, big windows, the kind of house people dream about, but rarely get without luck or inheritance. I'd earned every inch of it. Inside, everything was exactly where I left it. The home office stacked with research journals, the framed patents lining one wall, the guest room Robert always used when he visited. This wasn't a flex. It was proof. Proof I didn't need applause to build something real. My phone buzzed. Mom calling. I let it ring. A second later, Dad calling. Straight to voicemail. Then a text popped up from Madison. You really couldn't let me have one night? Just one. I stared at the screen, waiting to feel guilty. I didn't. Instead, clarity hit, sharp and cold. Madison wasn't mad because I'd lied. She was mad because the spotlight slipped out of her hands for 5 minutes. And somehow that was my fault. I set my phone face down and walked through the house. The kitchen where I hosted dinner parties my parents never came to. The backyard garden where I grew vegetables for the local food bank. The gym in the basement that doubled as my therapy. This life, they hadn't built it. They hadn't supported it. They hadn't even noticed it. My phone buzzed again. Voicemail, Mom. Her voice was shaky, emotional, apologetic. A lot we didn't know and we're so proud now. Now, another voicemail, Dad. Shorter, more controlled. We need to talk. Then another text from Madison. Everyone's talking. Ethan's parents think you were trying to show me up. That one actually made me laugh. I poured myself a glass of wine and finally listened to my mom's voicemail all the way through. Lena, please call us back. We want to fix this. We didn't realize how incredible you were doing. There it was. Not who I was, not how I felt, but how incredible I looked on paper. The next morning, I woke up to 7 missed calls. 3 from my mom, 2 from my dad, 2 from Madison, and a message from Robert. They're spiraling. Do not let guilt drag you into a fake apology tour. Smart man. Around noon, my dad finally texted something different. Can we come by? Just to talk. I stared at the message for a long time. 8 years ago, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. Now, I replied, coffee, public place, 1 hour. They showed up early. Of course they did. My mom looked smaller somehow, less polished. My dad avoided my eyes. We sat down, and for the first time in my life, they didn't know how to lead the conversation. We're proud of you, my dad finally said. I nodded. Okay, that's it. My mom asked, startled. You didn't ask how I'm doing. I replied. You didn't ask if I'm happy. You didn't ask if the pressure is killing me sometimes. They looked stunned. My mom whispered, Is it? Sometimes. I admitted, but I handle it, like I've always had to. My dad cleared his throat. We just didn't understand your world. You didn't try to, I said. There's a difference. Then came the real reason for the visit, thinly disguised as concern. Robert mentioned you invest. My dad said carefully, real estate, stocks. Here it is. You want advice? I asked. He hesitated. Well, Madison and Ethan were thinking. I held up my hand. Stop. Both of them froze. I am not your family financial solution, I said calmly. I didn't spend years being invisible just to become useful when money showed up. My mom's eyes filled with tears again. That's not fair. No, I replied. What wasn't fair was being ignored until I had something to brag about. Silence stretched between us. Then my dad asked a question that finally broke whatever illusion he still had. So, are you going to help your sister or not? I leaned back in my chair, heart steady, voice firm. That depends, I said. Is she asking because she loves me or because she finally sees me as valuable? Neither of them answered. What my parents didn't realize was that Madison had already made her move, and the request she sent that night would prove she hadn't learned anything at all. That night, right when I thought the noise had finally died down, my phone lit up again. Madison calling. I didn't answer. A second later, a text came through. We need to talk. Not like before. For real this time. I exhaled slowly. This was the part I'd been expecting. Not the apology. Not the accountability. The ask. I waited 10 minutes before replying. Say it here. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then the message landed. Ethan and I are short on the venue deposit. Just temporarily. Dad said you might be willing to help. There it was. Clean. Efficient. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry. Just money, wrapped in the thinnest layer of family obligation. I stared at the screen, not angry, not shocked, just disappointed. How much? I typed. Her reply came instantly. $85,000. We'd pay you back after the wedding gifts come in. I actually laughed out loud. $85,000. Like she was asking to borrow a jacket. I set the phone down, walked to the window, and looked out over the city lights. For years, Madison had treated my life like filler content. Now, suddenly, I was the emergency fund. I picked the phone back up. No, that was it. One word. The response came fast and furious. Wow, I can't believe you. After everything Mom and Dad have done for you. My chest tightened, not because she was right, but because she sounded exactly like them. What exactly have they done for me? I asked. She didn't answer that. Instead, you embarrassed me at my engagement party. There it was. Not hurt, not betrayal. Embarrassment. I didn't say a word. I replied, you asked the questions. She fired back. You could have shut it down. I spent 8 years shutting myself down. I typed, I'm done doing that. The typing bubbles stopped. Then my mom called. I answered this time. Please, she said immediately. Just help her. You can afford it. That sentence sealed it. Afford it. I repeated. So that's what this is now? My value. That's not what I meant, she cried. It's exactly what you meant, I said calmly. You didn't call to ask how I felt. You called to negotiate. There was silence on the line. Then my dad took the phone. You don't have to give her the money, he said carefully. But maybe you could co-sign a loan or invest in the wedding. I closed my eyes. Listen to yourselves, I said. You didn't know where I lived 2 days ago. Now you're managing my finances. That's not fair, my dad said again. No, I replied. What's not fair is assuming access to me just because we share DNA. Madison grabbed the phone, her voice sharp and shaking. So you're just going to abandon your family? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I'm not abandoning anyone, I said. I'm just not buying love anymore. She hung up on me. I sat there for a long time after the call ended, not crying, not shaking, just processing the fact that this wasn't about misunderstanding. It was about entitlement. The next morning, Robert came over with coffee. She asked, didn't she? He said, yep. He nodded like he'd expected it. And I said no. A slow smile spread across his face. Good. But it's not over, I said. No, he agreed. It never is. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Madison. It was Ethan. Hey, Lena, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Maybe we can talk man to man. I stared at the message, heart sinking, because when people stop asking nicely, they start applying pressure. What Ethan planned to say next would cross a line so hard. It would force me to make a decision that could permanently change my family forever. I didn't respond to Ethan's message right away. Not because I was scared, but because I knew exactly what was coming. When entitlement doesn't work through guilt, it switches to manipulation. And Ethan? He was about to prove he fit into my family dynamic a little too perfectly. I waited an hour before replying. Say what you need to say. He called instead. Hey, he said, trying to sound relaxed. I just think things got blown out of proportion. That usually means someone wants something. I replied. He laughed nervously. Look, Madison's under a lot of stress. You know how weddings are. I do, I said. They cost what you can afford. Silence. Then he tried a different angle. I mean, from a financial perspective, this wouldn't even impact you. There it was. That's not your call, I said flatly. I'm just being logical, he pressed. You've got assets. Cash flow. This is pocket change for you. My grip tightened on the phone. Let me stop you right there. I said, you don't get to count my money. Ever. He sighed like I was the difficult one. Madison feels like you don't support her. I spent 8 years supporting her by disappearing. I replied, I'm done. Then he crossed the line. You know, he said slowly, family helps family. And if something happened to your parents down the line, they might remember who showed up. I felt something inside me go cold. Are you threatening me? I asked. No. Just saying relationships matter. Not like that, I said. And you don't get to leverage my parents to extort me. He backtracked fast. Too fast. Hey, I didn't mean it that way. I just think. I'm hanging up now, I said. Don't contact me again. I ended the call before he could spin it. For the first time since this all started, my hands shook. Not from fear, but from clarity. This wasn't wedding stress. This was character. I called Robert. He tried to pressure me. I said. Robert exhaled sharply. Of course he did. And he implied consequences if I didn't help. That got quiet. Okay, Robert said finally. Then we stopped playing defense. The next day, my parents showed up at my house unannounced. I didn't invite them in. We need to fix this, my mom pleaded from the porch. You're not here to fix anything, I said. You're here because Madison sent you. My dad's face hardened. That's not fair. Isn't it? I shot back. Did you come to ask how I'm holding up, or to convince me to write a check? They didn't answer. That was answer enough. I won't fund the wedding, I said clearly, and I won't be manipulated. My mom's voice cracked. So you're really choosing money over family? No, I said. I'm choosing boundaries over abuse. My dad snapped. You've changed. Yes, I agreed. I had to. Madison appeared at the end of the driveway, eyes red, face tight. So this is it? She demanded. You think you're better than us now? I didn't flinch. I don't think I'm better, I said. I think I'm done being used. She laughed bitterly. Without us, you'd be nothing. That's when I said the words I'd buried for years. I became everything without you. The silence that followed was brutal. Madison turned away first. You'll regret this, she said. I watched him drive off, my heart pounding, but my spine straight. That night, I changed my locks, updated my will, and blocked 3 numbers. Because when people show you who they are, you don't argue. You believe them. What none of them knew was that the final twist wasn't coming from me. It was coming from a decision Ethan made next that would expose the truth to everyone. 2 days after the locks were changed and the numbers were blocked, I thought the storm might finally calm down. I was wrong. It started with a notification from LinkedIn of all places. Ethan K. mentioned you in a post. My stomach dropped. I opened it, and there it was, a long, emotional post about family betrayal, money changing people, and how success can make someone forget where they came from. No names mentioned, but it didn't need them. Anyone who knew us could read between the lines. The comments were already blowing up. Some people bought his victim act. Others weren't so convinced. Then someone tagged me directly. I didn't respond right away. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Robert. His reply came fast. He just made a massive mistake. Within hours, Madison reposted it on Instagram with a caption about losing a sister. My parents stayed quiet, but their silence was loud. By evening, my inbox was full. Colleagues asking if I was okay. Old friends confused. One message from HR. Just checking in. That's when I realized this wasn't personal anymore. He dragged my professional life into his tantrum. So I did the one thing they never expected. I told the truth. Not emotionally, not dramatically. Factually, I posted a single statement, short, calm, impossible to twist. I didn't offer financial support for a wedding I wasn't consulted about. I set boundaries after repeated pressure and intimidation. My career, finances, and choices are not community property. I wish them well. That was it. No insults. No oversharing. No drama. The response? Immediate. People started asking Ethan questions. Hard ones. Why was he counting someone else's money? Why was he pressuring a family member? Why did his post sound more like entitlement than pain? Then the real hit landed. A woman commented, "Didn't you just ask for donations for your bachelor trip last year?" Another chimed in, "Weren't you fired from your last job for ethical concerns?" That thread exploded. By morning, Ethan's post was gone. Madison's Instagram story disappeared too. Then my dad called from a number I hadn't blocked. "Ethan lost his job," he said quietly. I didn't react. He told his boss about the situation. My dad continued. They didn't like the public behavior or the financial pressure. "Okay," I said. And Madison, the venue canceled. Deposit issue. Still nothing from me. My dad exhaled. "They're blaming you." "I know," I replied. That night, Robert came over again. We sat in my kitchen, drinking tea like none of this chaos existed. "You did everything right," he said. "I know," I replied. That's the weird part. Then my mom showed up alone. No makeup, no drama, just tired. "I'm not here to ask for money," she said immediately. I studied her face. "I believe you." She sat down slowly. "I think we raised Madison to expect applause, and we raised you to survive without it." I didn't interrupt. "We failed you," she whispered. It wasn't a grand apology, but it was the first honest thing she'd said. "I don't know what happens next," she continued, "but I know you didn't deserve how we treated you." I nodded. That's all I ever want acknowledged. She left quietly. For the first time since the engagement party, the house felt peaceful again. But the story wasn't done yet, because the next message I received wasn't from family. It was from Ethan's former employer's legal department, and they wanted to talk. What that call revealed would finally decide whether the story ended with closure or consequences no one saw coming. The call from the legal department came the next afternoon. I didn't panic. I didn't rush to answer either. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and let it ring once before picking up. "Ms. Carter?" the woman on the line asked. "Yes." "I'm calling regarding statements made publicly by Ethan K. that involve your name, finances, and professional reputation." I listened. Calm. Steady. They didn't accuse me of anything. They asked for clarification. Timelines. Screenshots. Proof of pressure. I sent them everything. Texts, call logs. Screenshot of the LinkedIn post before it was deleted. No commentary. No emotion. Just facts. At the end of the call, The lawyer paused. "You handled this very professionally," she said. "I had to," I replied. "My work matters more than someone else's meltdown." That was the moment I knew something important. I wasn't fighting anymore. I was done. A week later, the fallout settled. Ethan was officially unemployed. The wedding was postponed indefinitely. Madison stopped posting completely. My parents didn't push. They didn't ask for favors. They didn't brag. They finally stayed quiet. And for once, it felt respectful. One evening, my mom sent a single text. "I'm proud of you, not because of money, because of how you handled everything." I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "Thank you. Nothing more. Nothing less." That weekend, I hosted a small dinner at my place. Robert came, 2 close friends, a colleague from work, people who knew me without needing numbers attached. We laughed. We talked about research, travel, life. No one asked what my net worth was. No one tried to borrow anything. That's when it hit me. This was family. Later that night, I walked through my house one last time before bed. The office where breakthroughs were born. The quiet guest room. The kitchen where peace finally lived. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt free. I hadn't won anything. I hadn't proven anything. I had simply stopped shrinking to make other people comfortable. And that was worth more than any number they'd ever put next to my name. Final note, outro style ending. Sometimes the real glow-up isn't money, success, or recognition. It's boundaries. It's self-respect. It's walking away without needing applause. And once you do, you never go back.